Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. Higher Achievement in Washington, D.C. has been matching mentors to local middle schoolers for 50 years. Today, you'll hear from an alumni who shares his emotional journey and credits Higher Achievement for changing his life trajectory, and why, as the managing partner of a multimillion-dollar firm, he's asking others to step in and help change lives. We'll share why talent is everywhere and mentorship can change everything today on the We're Good podcast. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Lee Ann Necessary Brownlee, and we are excited to be on location here at Higher Achievement in Washington, D.C. We want to thank these wonderful people for having us today. Lynsey Jeffries, you're the CEO here at Higher Achievement. And Mitch Brooks, you are a board member and also a former, or you're actually an alumni. So you were a former participant.
That's right.
Here, one of the scholars here. And we can't wait to hear your full circle journey moment. We appreciate you being here today. And Lynsey, we just want to get right to it because this is one of the reasons we are excited to have Higher Achievement. January is mentoring month. And that is really kind of the bedrock, the cornerstone of what you are doing here at Higher Achievement with middle schoolers.
Yes.
And beyond. Tell us about what Higher Achievement is doing.
Sure. Well, at Higher Achievement, we know that talent is everywhere, but that opportunity is not. And so we focus on this wonderful, flexible time of after school to partner our scholars and with mentors so that they can work together in an academic enrichment environment to prepare them to navigate the transition of middle school and go on to the best fit high school for them so they stay on track for post-secondary success.
That's wonderful. And how many at any given time? What are the cohorts like?
Yeah, so we are right now in 4 school districts: Baltimore, Prince George's County, DC, and Richmond. We're in 12 schools serving about 600 middle school scholars.
That's a lot.
It's a joy.
It's a joy. That is the reason that you are doing this. That is wonderful. Higher Achievement is in its 50th year.
Yes.
So that's exciting. Here in the 50th year, it's a big achievement, big milestone. And a few years back, they have done some amazing and really important randomized controlled trial studies.
Mm-hmm.
I looked into them. I was just astounded by what they found. And basically what they found is this program works.
Right.
And it works. The numbers prove it. The statistic that I saw was 95% of your scholars graduating from high school. But you said there's one even more impressive that you thought.
Yeah. With the long term, so after they finish high school, our scholars are 3 times more likely than their peers to graduate from a 4-year college. And that's all from the intervention, the deep intervention we do in middle school and that power of mentors and scholars together.
And when you say deep intervention, what does that mean exactly?
It means,
look like?
Often people think of an after-school program as it's sort of a drop-in program, come and go as you please. And this is something where we interview scholars and families and ask if they want to partner with us in their education from 5th through 8th grade. So it's multi-year. It's about 350 hours per year. So it's 4 days a week, 3 to 6:30. It's a deep commitment from the scholars, from the families, from the mentors, and from the staff.
So we're talking a lot about statistics, and I did mention that it was a specific kind of test, a survey that they took. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
Not every nonprofit does this.
Exactly. It's rare. So we were the subject of 2 randomized control trial studies. Excuse me for nerding out. But only 2% of the 1.6 million nonprofits in the country, only 2% undergo this type of study. It's the gold standard in social research. And of that 2%, only 10% get positive findings. So there's a 90% chance that you will have null or negative findings if you go through this type of rigorous research. We've gone through it twice, and both times we've had statistically significant positive effects on grades, on placement in college preparatory high schools, on family engagement, on test scores. Mm-hmm. And so people who are interested in getting involved with Higher Achievement, either as a mentor, as a donor, as a partner, they can know with empirical certainty that their time, their money, will be well spent with higher achievement. And we know that folks have lots of choices. There are lots of nonprofits out there, but ours is empirically proven.
And Mitch, you're sitting here with us as a board member,
Yes.
but you also were a part of higher achievement.
That's right.
Can you share some of your journey with our audience?
Yes, would love to. And I would love to share a little context going into
Yes.
my time as a higher achievement scholar. So born and raised here in Washington, D.C., raised east of Anacostia, west of Congress Heights. And as a kid, the very first school that my mom put me into, they looked to label me, as an IEP student. And it was at that moment that my mom just didn't want necessarily
Which said that you needed special accommodations.
That's right.
IEP. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And so with that, my mom took a year off of work to homeschool me. And she homeschooled me for a year. And following that homeschooling, I ended up entering into Watkins Elementary School here in DC, a part of the Capitol Hill Cluster Program. And I would say in elementary school, things were great. I loved it. I loved my time there. And as I transitioned into middle school, we like to think of higher achievement at that time. I would say some of the alums around that time as the idea of, I think I phrase it and frame it as private tutors for the working class families. And so I think for me, and for my mom and everything that was around me and everything, sort of the environment growing up in DC, she felt just a haven with this program. And so as I entered into the program, for me, it was transformational. I entered in my 5th grade year as I entered into middle school. And I would say I went from a B average student to I graduated my 8th grade year as we were looking to apply to high school, so for 3.98 GPA. And so some of the statistics that we hear and that we read about the randomized study, I am a living example of those statistics and sort of how that manifests in our scholars. And from there, what I'm deeply appreciative of, not just my time in the program, but towards the end of my time, my tutor in particular challenged me and encouraged me to not simply apply to the high school that all of my friends and like colleagues were applying to. And she really pushed me and challenged me to apply to the best high schools in this region. And I took her up on that challenge. I mean, we had this relationship where I think I did so well in the program because she knew how to motivate me. She knew as a 5th grader that I loved learning 6th grade math and that I loved learning just advanced studies. And so she continued that on. And I think one of the last gifts she gave me was to really push me and encourage me to look at some of these college prep high schools. And that led me to Gonzaga, which was a full circle moment for me because that's where I happened to attend the higher achievement program at Gonzaga's campus.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. And then from Gonzaga?
From Gonzaga, went to Florida A&M, which is in Tallahassee, Florida. Yeah. From there, went to business school and ended up, I would say about a decade after business school, then worked in Chicago, came back to DC. And the funny story there is that my mother, the same mother who took me out of school to homeschool me, when I returned, she said, all right, you got this, good living, like you're doing good for yourself as, a young professional. And she, I think I shared this with you, but she was adamant that I give back and participate to the programs that supported me on my journey to get there. And so as higher achievement mail would come to the home, she would call me and she would say, right, they're having a gala coming up and you need to go. Or if you didn't go, you need to give.
Oh, I love it.
And that's really part of the way that I got reconnected to the higher achievement program after being away for about a decade.
Well,
Mitch's mom is a powerhouse.
I was going to say, your mom sounds amazing. And also,
you're the board member. So mom's got to be proud of that too.
Yes.
That is a huge, huge full circle moment.
That's right.
And when you hear stories like this, Lynsey, of course, you were one of the mentors.
I was.
So tell us about your journey. And
Yeah.
Mitch, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Right.
And your trajectory is amazing. And so we just love that. And then, of course, part of that you said was because you had a mentor who knew about you. And you were a mentor that knew your kids.
And I sure did. I started mentoring when I moved to Washington in 2000, so 25 years ago.
Wow.
I've been involved for half of higher achievement's history.
Wow.
And
That's a really impressive number.
there's some elegance there.
There is.
And I started mentoring when I was working in the affordable housing space every Tuesday night. And I did Tuesday night mentoring for 5 years. And much like your mentor, I pushed my scholars in their final year to be applying to schools that might be a stretch and that they wouldn't have known about otherwise. And when one of my scholars got into his top choice high school, I was so proud. And I was walking around with his acceptance letter to the Washington International School in my fancy corporate office on Wisconsin Avenue.
I love it.
And I was just so proud. And I was like, this program works. It's tangible.
Yeah.
And I want to spend not just my Tuesday nights, but hopefully like my career in this space. And so I was lucky enough to come on staff back in 2005 in a fundraising capacity. And then I ran the DC operation. And now I've been serving as CEO for the last 13 years. And that scholar, Ariel, is now 34 years old. He has a 10-year-old daughter, Amber. I'm proud to be Amber's godmother.
Oh, wow.
I have a 10-year-old son, Pete, and Pete and Amber are very much growing up together. In fact, just a few months ago, we did the Girls on the Run 5K together at Anacostia Park, and I understand Girls on the Run is also going to be profiled on this podcast, which is so cool.
Exactly. They're one of our January podcast episodes. So thank you
Yeah,
for being a part of Girls on the Run.
I love it. But the mentoring really it changed my life. It changed my career. The way in which mentors and scholars and families knit together a tighter social fabric is absolutely the reason I have stayed involved and why I think our mission matters now more than ever. Like our communities are too separated on so many levels right now, and mentoring bridges that divide. In fact, Mitch and I were just talking about, he's the chair of our governance committee. 3 of our 4 incoming board members in a few weeks are former mentors.
That's right.
And the 4th is an alum of higher achievement. Right. And so the work that we do in partnership is transformative. And it is, in many of them, it has transformed their careers. I'm far from the only one who's, by serving as a mentor, has led them to make life changes that I would say are in the social good.
It's pretty powerful when we see and feel the transformation, not just from the scholars and me being an example of that, but also from the tutors and the mentors that participate in the program. There's transformations going on both sides of that.
Yeah.
A lot of times you will hear from the nonprofits that we're interviewing, the individuals, that they are getting a whole lot more they feel than they're giving when they're volunteering and when they're participating. And then, of course, with you all, it's so wonderful because you can grow up and come back. There's this nice trajectory. And Lynsey, I love when you said that it's just tightening that social fabric. That is a beautiful image of what's taking place. Can you just kind of, both of you, maybe paint a picture for people if they don't know of what it's like with higher achievement? Like, when do the mentors get together with the kids? Can you just paint us a picture? And maybe if you guys have a few ideas or some of your scholars that you just have these great stories of what you're seeing here. If you could tell us about that.
Well, just functionally, our mentors, while our scholars are there 4 days a week, our mentors come once a week, and it's typically 5:30 to 6:30-ish at night. So you can do it after work. And they are guided through a curriculum. You don't need any teaching experience to be a mentor. You do need to pass the background check and all of that.
Sure.
But we make it as simple as possible. Our staff are there to support and to debrief, and we do trainings and all of the things to make sure that the experience is a good one. And you meet with the same scholars week after week. That is something that I think mentors often say is special about higher achievement, that you're not just kind of showing up and you're not sure which kid you were going to meet with, but you build enduring relationships, and that really does matter.
That does matter. What are some of the stories that come to mind for you?
Well, I acknowledge the program looks a lot different now today than it did when I was in the program. And it's interesting for me to say 25 years ago
Right.
when I said that.
That's right.
No, with that being said, I think that the thing that I think back on and reflect the most, and also when I see other alums in today's time, it's really the uh, partnership that we built in these small groups. And so I think learning in small groups, and to a great degree, I think students outside of DC public schools or the charter school system are familiar with this, where the smaller the classrooms, the smaller the groups, the more impact teachers and the more impact tutors can have. And so I just remember it being a very competitive and a very healthy and remarkable way as a 12-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid, where you're trying to learn as much as you can, you're competing to be the best in that group. But as a result, the entire learning pod just elevates, right? And so it's my hope and thought that sort of the spirit of that also still exists within the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that those relationships in middle school are exactly what middle schoolers need.
Yes.
Middle school is second only to early childhood in brain development, and they need those enduring relationships with adults that show them that they matter. And that is one of the insulating factors for students who are facing a lot of difficulties. If they have someone outside of their family that they know deeply, that shows them that they matter, that they can count on, it's almost like a superpower. And so, and that's all based in neuroscience. I will say one of the things we were also joking about, an old tagline of ours was "Be challenged, be changed." And it's one that I came up with. It didn't really stick, but
That works. That works, yeah.
but we do challenge our scholars, and we challenge our mentors. We challenge together, and then they are changed. So they become change in the world. Like Mitch, as the founder and managing director of High Street Equity Partners, doing amazing work on the business side. 2 of our city council members are higher achievement alumni. The other day, I reconnected with a scholar who I hadn't seen since she was in 8th grade. And we were sitting at a local foundation's meeting about sort of what nonprofit leaders need to do right now. And she is my peer. She is absolutely my peer. She's 31 years old. She's the executive director of the Latino Economic Development Corporation. She is rocking it. And I remember her, Emmy, when she was in 8th grade, and she has just had this skyrocketing trajectory, and she credits higher achievement to getting her into a boarding school. That really kind of changed her horizons, she would say.
We all do. We all do. We all view that time period of us being in that program as transformational. So the idea that there's a ripple effect, right? So the idea that there were a group of tutors that poured into me, and now as a professional, I'm making equity investments into entrepreneurs within this city, across this country. And at last stat, as of June of 2025, our investments have impacted 10 million Americans.
Oh my God.
Right?
Good, dude.
And so
Wow, that's
the
great.
idea that, higher achievement was just this instrumental part of my journey, which has a ripple effect. So now I can impact or try to impact as many folks from that. And this is just one example, right? I think Emmy is another example. And so if we were to sort of just look back and think about this program has impacted 15,000 scholars and what those 15,000 scholars have gone on to do out in the world, being city council members, and those city council members impacting the million folks that are DC residents, as an example, creating legislation and things that impact all of those families.
It's a ripple effect.
That's right.
It is a ripple effect.
Right.
And those ripple effects have a lot of importance. And as you said, you both are sitting here talking about 25 years with an organization. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
That really is. And you were talking about that what you see and what you hope for.
Mm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What you hope for these scholars that are going through higher achievement, Mitch?
Yeah, it's my deep hope that the scholars take advantage of the time in the program, and I'm acknowledging that there are a lot of extracurricular activities and a lot of things pulling at scholars' time. I think now more than ever.
Mhm.
But the fact that there are statistics and testimonials that really back and support what higher achievement's doing here, it's my deep hope that the scholars see that. And I think even as a 12-year-old kid, initially, it was hard for me to see it,
Mm.
right? But I stuck with it. I stuck in the program, and it had a profound impact on me.
Can you share with us maybe what your thoughts would be if you hadn't come to higher achievement?
Yeah, yeah. I- When I think about the time and the relationships that was made in the program, and then thinking about the paths that I took as a result of the program and those relationships thereafter, um, I deeply think about and reflect on a lot of those relationships are still with me to this day.
Hmm.
Um, and I think to Lynsey's point, a, a lot of how we navigate in our success in life and success in the world often lean and depend on the relationships that we've made and the what we've been able to cultivate with folks. And so it's not lost on me that some of the well, I'll say the relationships that I've had from elementary school and I'll say early middle school, um, uh, most of whom I interact with now, as I'm building my business, as I'm raising my godson, as I'm looking to build my family, um, to a great degree, it's those came about during this catalytic period for me,
Hmm.
and this transformational period for me. Um, and so, if I were not to go and participate in higher achievement, um, God only knows what that would look like in that future. I like to think that what He put on my heart is where I'm destined to be. Um, but I do think that undoubtedly that the relationships that have helped me to get here would look a lot different.
Hmm.
And so maybe it would just take more out of me or more out of my family, or what have you. But those relationships would be remarkably different.
And of course, all those parents out there, we want them to hear this too about higher achievement. Mitch's mom was a big influencer in getting him involved. Do you hear that? Are there parents
Oh my
who are
goodness.
telling who's the main conduit to find higher achievement?
Oh, so scholars typically find us in three ways. One is through presentations. We make presentations in
Okay.
fourth and fifth grade classrooms.
Yeah.
Second is referrals from, there's, especially in Washington, we've been here 50 years. Like we have alum who send their scholars back. There is a sort of legacy effect. And third is through sort of the peer-to-peer. So you'll have an older scholar who will refer a younger student.
Scholar.
Yep.
But this doesn't happen in a vacuum, and you need mentors.
We do.
So tell us, if someone's listening and thinking, "Ooh, I'd like to get involved on that side of things,"
Yes.
who are you looking for, Lynsey?
Oh my goodness. We are looking for people who can make a dedicated commitment of about 75 minutes a week for the full school year. If you can't make it for this full school year, we have other opportunities, but we really want to make sure that that is consistent, that you're a consistent person in that child's life. Ideally for 3 to 4 years, so you can stay with them through the whole length of the program. And it's anyone. We do ask that they all have finished high school, but we have the average mentor is sort of in their late 20s, but we have high school students, we have college students, we have retirees, but it's someone who really wants to make a difference and wants to really build a deep and lasting relationship with a young person.
and walk into a boardroom someday and there's somebody sitting across from them that wasn't there.
Absolutely.
I just love that.
And for us to expand, which there is demand for expansion,
Do
for
you
us,
have a waiting list?
we do. Several of our centers have wait lists right now.
So it's important.
Actually, I need to update the board on that. There is a resurgence of demand right now, and for us to unlock that demand, one of the things we need is more volunteer mentors. Out of COVID, there has been less in-person volunteer sort of action, and we need more people to show up and to make the time for our scholars in order for us to open new sites.
And go ahead, Mitch.
I would love to add as a layer to that demand within the existing schools, as well as I'm aware of demand for us to bring the program to different neighborhoods and different communities in the region, and understanding that that requires a sustainability plan in order for us to operate a center. And so as much as we can connect with partners in those local communities and regions to help bring this to their area, we would love that as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
nice to grow. But it's amazing what you're doing. It's amazing what you're doing right here. Case in point, you're sitting right here with us. But we always like to ask our podcast guests at the very end, and I can't believe it's always it goes so fast. If you could peel back the curtain, or today I said go behind the chalkboard, and tell people something about higher achievement that you just cannot see on the website and read in a statistic, what would it be? What would be but you're behind the chalkboard?
Yeah, behind the chalkboard. For me, it's all about the relationships, the depth of relationships that endure. And there's nothing more important than that, is that the deep relationships between scholars and mentors, the deep relationships between staff and scholars and mentors. It's this really beautiful, tight-knit community. And as we celebrate our 50th anniversary, I've been able to unearth so many more of these relationships. Just a few weeks ago, I was meeting with an alum who is a VP at the NFL, and he's a Super Bowl winner. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He is 52 years old. He was tearing up in his Park Avenue office about the impact that higher achievement had on his life and the mentors that had on his life. And our conversation spurred him to get back in touch with his mentors. They are lasting, enduring relationships that really can be transformative.
I love that.
I love that too. How about you, Mitch? What would your behind the curtain, behind the chalkboard thing that you would like to share with our audience?
I think about the entrepreneurial program that we put together this summer.
So fun.
And the idea that in addition to students being able to receive tutoring for their academic curriculum and lesson plan, they're also being exposed to what career paths look like into the future. And so I love the idea of exposing kids to visiting some of our corporate partners to see what it's like to be an accountant for a day, or to see what it's like to run your own business, or what it's like to be connected or a part of a private equity or venture capital firm. And so I love the fact that they're looking to bring some of these different programs and incorporate it into the curriculum to give kids an sort of early visibility into what their future can look like in different career options. And it's my belief that, you need to see that at a lot of these centers in order to know that it's possible. So to bring folks into the centers or to expose kids and taking field trips to do that, I think that's unique and special, in addition to everything that we're doing and how the stats play out for the scholars.
On Monday, in fact, we're going to take a whole group of our scholars to learn about what it's like to be an economist. Economics consulting firm, Bates White, is a huge supporter of ours, and they're gonna. That's not a career path I certainly knew about in middle school, and that's what this opportunity gap is. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not, and we close that gap with exposure to career paths, with exposure to mentors, with this like data informed program and these enduring relationships that really do last.
Great way to bring the tagline for us.
That's right. Thank you. She brought it full circle, right? And it was perfect. And you're planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
You are planting seeds, and you
Apple
are
seeds.
apple seeds. There you go. It's wonderful. Thank you both, Lynsey and Mitch, for spending time with us today and sharing with us your stories and the wonderful things that are going on with higher achievement. And there is a lot on your website, so we want people to be sure and go there if you're interested. It's going to be on our website, we'regood.net. And we sure do hope that you'll take a look at our website. It's getting to be a big website now. We have lots of guests and lots of information. So we hope you'll go on and learn more about higher achievement and some of our other guests from this past season. Thank you so much for being with us today, because as we like to say, we're good and you're good, and we can all make a difference.